So what I want to do today is two things. First, I want to show you how to set up Python on your own computer. We're going to be installing Python using a Python package manager called Conda. Conda is a really nice tool for both installing Python and also managing Python installations and packages like NumPy and Pandas. So I'll show you how to set that up initially. And then we're also going to install VSCode, and I'll show you how to set up VSCode extensions so that you can work in Python really effectively while you're working in VSCode. We'll then make a couple more videos that are going to tell you things like how to connect VSCode running on your computer to a remote virtual machine so you can work and edit on your own computer, but any changes to files or any code you run on that virtual machine. As well as show you some things like integration with the Jupyter ecosystem, so you can use Jupyter notebooks within VS Code, how to personalize various settings, a number of things like that. So let's get started. So in the interest of trying to show you what it looks like to get stuff set up in the same way that you're likely to be seeing it, I'm going to start with an empty user account. So this is basically just create a new user on a Mac system. Things are going to look pretty similar on Windows. There's one or two places things will be a little bit different, so I'll talk about those. But this is how things are going to look on the Mac. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to Google miniconda. Miniconda is both something that comes with an installation of Python itself, but also provides you with a set of tools for managing your Python installation and also managing a lot of the different packages that you'll come across as a data scientist. Those of you who've worked with Python in the past might also be familiar with pip, which is a different tool for installing Python packages. Pip is great, and we'll still use it sometimes. Many people find conda, this package management tool, especially useful for data science because it's more robust than pip. It can install additional dependencies and things like that that are often used in data science, but can't be installed using kind of the standard package managers. You may also be familiar with something called Anaconda. Anaconda is another package that gives you this package installer in Python. It also comes with like 150 packages pre-installed. Some people find it nice to have all those packages in there initially. My own experience is that having all those packages pre-installed tends to result in package conflicts if you want to add things later. So I'm going to recommend we just install miniconda, which is just an installation of Python and this package manager, and then anything else we need to add, we can add ourselves. So I'm just going to go ahead and start. We're going to download the most recent version. The exact version of Python you use doesn't matter as long as it starts with a 3. Python 2, it's a long story, but in short, you don't want to work with it. It exists, but it's kind of long out date, and so you want to be working with something that's in Python 3. So now we're going to run this installer. And as we do it, there's two things that you want to be very careful about as you're doing the installation. So we're going to sign up for the various license steps. We're going to agree. When you get to this destination select option, it's very important that we install the software for me and not for all users on this computer. If you try to install it for all users on the computer, it creates a lot of permission issues when you want to try to install stuff. One of the things that's very nice about miniconda is you don't need admin permissions to work with miniconda. As you can see, when I click on this initially, I have a little warning saying I can't install it for me only. I don't know where this bug came from. If I click off and click back on, it works just fine. But when you install it, make sure that you install it just for yourself or for your user, not for all users on this computer or in any non-default location. It's going to make a big difference. Also, if you're working in Windows, you're going to be asked whether you want to add miniconda to your path variable, PATH. It's going to say that they don't recommend that. I am going to recommend it. One of the things that we'll be doing in some of our later classes is changing the way that our command line works on Windows so that it looks a little bit more like a standard Linux system, which you're going to be more accustomed to using on cloud platforms, and adding miniconda to your path will make that work better. So when it asks if you want to add miniconda to your path variable on Windows, despite the warning, I recommend selecting yes for the time being. So I'll install this only for me. We're going to click install. Okay, so once that's finished, we're just going to close that, and we can move that to the trash. And then the next thing that we're going to need to do is install VS Code. So Visual Studio Code, also called VS Code, is going to be very simple to download and install. Click the thing. Okay, so VS Code finished installing. It doesn't have an installer. You're just going to find a little icon in your downloads folder. So just drag that into your applications folder. I did that already. So now I'm going to open VS Code, and it should pop up from our applications folder. I'm going to close my web browser now too. The first time it pops up, you're going to be given a number of options like this. Personally, I'm a fan of light themes, even though I know that makes some people think I'm a monster. And if you want, you can go through a lot of these different kind of setup options. I'm going to walk you through some of the setups that I think are most relevant, so I'm going to skip these for now. But for what it's worth, there's a bunch of very nice onboarding tools that are available in the VS Code interface. To kind of help you get started. I'm also going to zoom this in a little bit. It's going to look a little bit funny, but I think it'll make it easier to read. And then we're going to mark done. Again, there's kind of this getting started page, which by default is going to show up when you get here. It has a number of tools that will help you see a bunch of the features and stuff like that. But for the moment, I'm not going to worry about that. So we're going to close that file. So this is the empty MS Code interface. And over on the left here, we see a number of different things made available. The first is a file explorer, which has the option either to open a folder or clone a repository if you want to work directly from GitHub. In this case, I'm just going to open the desktop folder, which has a couple empty files that I put there just so we can see stuff easily. It's going to ask if I'm willing to trust the things in that folder as just kind of a permission. So if I click on Hello World, I can open it up. And what we see over here is that it now recognizes this is Python, and it's done a little syntax highlighting. But it can't do very much because we haven't installed any tools for recognizing how Python works. So the first thing is, this may actually happen to you, as a little pop-up will pop up that says, we recommend you install the Python extensions because it recognizes what's going on. But instead, what I want to do is show you how we can do this manually. So over on the left side is a button for extensions. And the number one most popular tool, as we see, is the Python extension from Microsoft. It has 37 million installations at the moment, which should give you a clear sense when I say this is a very popular tool and there's thus a lot of people working with it and developing it. This should give you a sense of exactly what I mean by that. So we're going to click install, and while that's working, we have to reload the window to make everything work now that stuff's been installed. You'll notice under the extensions list, it's actually loaded 3 different things. It loaded a Jupyter extension, a Pylance extension, and a Python extension. These all work together, and they all come when you install the Python extension. Pylance is a tool that checks your code as you work and tells you if you have problems. And the Jupyter Notebook is going to allow you to open Jupyter Notebooks here in VS Code, which is something that we'll talk about in a later video in more detail. The other thing that I want to flag that happened when we installed this is down in the bottom, we now have a little bar that says Python 3.9.1 64-bit miniconda. You can have lots of different versions of Python installed in your system. And so the information that's down here is telling you which version of Python VS Code is looking for as it wants to run different things. And so what we're going to do, and it's already noticed that miniconda makes sense as our default, so we're going to keep using this miniconda installation of Python as our default Python extension. So I'm going to close the extensions, and we can now see that we have this Python window working. And now what's very nice is, in addition to being able to write code, right, you can see that it's starting to fill stuff out. The other thing that it's going to start doing is noticing when you make mistakes, right? So what you can see is up on the top, it's turned red. There's now a red squiggly line under this hanging plus sign because it knows that you shouldn't have a plus sign hanging out on its own on a line. And if I take my mouse over that, it's it's going to say they expected an expression there and something happened that it didn't finish. The other nice thing, it's a little hard to see on such a short document, but there's a little red mark over here on the right-hand side, which tells you where the error has occurred, so you can go back and fix it later. Okay, so that's called linting. It's this process of checking your code as you go along, just for syntax errors and things like that. The other thing that we can see immediately, here, let's add a final print statement. We're going to print our value of z, is there's this little run button up here. So the obvious thing you can do is hit the run button, and Python is going to run in a terminal that opens up down here, right? And our file had print hello world, so it printed hello world. And then it's going to print the value of z once we add those together, so it prints 12, and then we're done. Very nice. This is useful if you want to run entire Python files as single files, but it's also the case that oftentimes we want to work with Python interactively. So the other thing that we can do with this file, if we right-click on it, is we can, run the selection or line in a Python terminal. And what this does is it causes Python to open up a terminal into Python and then leave that Python session open. Right? So now what's happening is if I ask it to run a line of code, it's going to run that line of code in this open Python session. So now you can kind of run a line of code, see what happens, run a line of code, see what happens. Obviously, you don't want to right-click every time that you're doing that, but what you can see if I right-click on this is there's a keyboard shortcut over on the right for doing this, which in this case is Shift-Enter or Shift-Return. So now if I want to run a line of code, I just do Shift-Enter, and that line of code will run down in the terminal below. You can also select a number of lines of code, select those and hit Shift-Enter, and it'll run that block down here on the bottom. The other thing I will flag is personally, I don't like having the terminal at the bottom. I like having it on the right. So if you right-click over here, you can, my mouse has been grumpy, say Move Panel Right, and we can resize things just a little bit, be a little bit more the way I like to work. And so now you have this layout where essentially you can write your code over here on the left, like my name equals Nick. And if I hit Shift-Enter, it runs over on the right, and you can kind of see what you're doing as you work through your various projects, which personally I find to be a very useful workflow. Now, you can also kill a terminal if you want to. You can clear all the output in it. You can open a new terminal, all these nice kind of cool little features that are in there. And I think that's most of what's super important for the moment for basic Python. At this point, you're running Python. Oh, one of the things that's nice. So if you want to add another terminal, you can click the plus up here. And as you see over on the right-hand side, you now have two open terminals. But one of the things that's nice about this is if I now want to add a library, conda install numpy, right? I have a terminal session that's running over here that will allow me to do things like add libraries while I'm working, right? So you don't have to leave VS Code to have your terminal there, and you can go back to your open Python session up here. You can go back and forth. It makes for a very smooth experience. Yep. Hi everyone, it's Nick from the future. So I realized I forgot one very important step about configuring miniconda to work effectively. So when you use conda to install packages, those packages can come from lots of different sources. And the default source is Anaconda, the company that set up and first made conda itself. However, I'm going to argue that the much better resource for making sure that all your packages will work together is to make sure that all your packages come from conda-forge, which you can find at conda-forge.org. And so what we're going to do is run a handful of settings in our conda installation to ensure that it is set up right now such that whenever you try to install a package, the first thing it's going to try to do is install that package from conda-forge and not from the Anaconda channel. This will just make your life much easier. It'll minimize conflicts and all of these types of things. So the way that we're going to do that is by going into Visual Studio Code and opening up a new terminal session on the computer that we're working on. There's a number of different ways you can open a new terminal session. There's the keyboard shortcut, which on a Mac is Control and then the key with the tilde on it. You can also just go up to the terminal menu and select New Terminal. Either one of those works fine. And then in that terminal session, we're going to type in the two commands that we see on the conda-forge page. So the first one of those is conda-config add channels conda-forge. This makes sure that miniconda knows that it's allowed to pull packages from this channel. You'll notice on my computer it's going to say it's already added because I've configured this. On yours, you probably won't get that message. And then the second thing that we're going to do is run the command conda-config set channel priority strict. This says use the last channel that I added to the list as the priority that we go with first. So this makes sure that it tries to go to conda-forge. So once you've written those two commands, you should be in good shape. And in the future, miniconda will by default try to use the conda-forge channel for pulling packages down. So one of the other features that I want to flag for you that I think is really nice is the following. It is often the case that we end up working on different computers over the course of our life. It might just be that we get a new laptop at some point and we have to move over our files, but it's also the case that you will sometimes be working on a cloud instance of a computer or something like that. VSCode is set up so that you can basically, synchronize all of the settings that you have for VSCode. So if you sign in anywhere, whether it's a VSCode session running on a virtual machine in the cloud or VSCode running in a browser, any of those different things, all of your settings will be synchronized and carried across. That means not only the extensions that you like to install, but also all the weird little settings like keyboard shortcuts you might have modified or something else that you may have played with. All of that is going to be fully supported and propagated. In addition, this will also link you to your GitHub account if you want, so you can easily browse all of your GitHub files. So I definitely recommend setting up synchronization of your settings when you're working in VS Code.